Hey, welcome everybody to Talking Niagara. Dave's here, or he isn't. Maybe I don't know. Maybe we'll see.
I'm here.
It is 7 a.m. and therefore it is Talking Niagara time here in the Niagara region. So welcome to our show, 7 a.m. live every weekday morning.
November 26th.
November 26th. Yes, no less. So a month away from Boxing Day.
Yeah. Joy, oh joy, oh joy, oh joy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and then you know it's all over, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, all this kind of fluff is all over except for a few days rest to the new year. Okay. So
yeah.
Boy, we've got some stories to tell this morning. Right. Okay. So one we didn't get to yesterday. Hydro One is seeking OEB approval for a 300
$11 million investment.
$211 million investment in Niagara electric infrastructure. Yeah.
So
that's pretty big.
I'm not so sure that that's big nowadays. I mean,
maybe. Yeah.
What is it serving? It was a little while.
As far as I can tell from what I'm seeing here, it's about expansion of the Crowland transformer in Welland, located on Humberston Road. It's about strengthening grid capacity and reliability across the region. So that's there to actually ensure we have less outages. And basically, it's to stabilize the ability that we've got within the region. We can then start building new homes, is basically what they're saying. This is going to be connected to it's going to be connected to from Welland to Thorold, about improving grid strength here.
So when we say it's $311 million, is that we have no idea what $300 million means to upgrading the grid.
Yeah,
that might be a little bit of an upgrade. It may be a huge upgrade. We don't know. It's what it's telling us here that it is improving the grid, and we do know that throughout North America, and Niagara included, our grids are aging. I've had 2 power outages in the last month, so one very briefly and one for several hours. So so that gives you an indication that the power grid, it's a little bit
aging
off.
Grid. Yeah. I've been fortunate not to have long-term outages, but what we seem to get, and I seem to get these like once or twice a week, and we've even had them on the show, partial flickers, which chuck you out.
Yeah, that would stop you from your computer, or then it would disconnect you from the internet and things like that kind of thing, little flutters like that. Yes, and if you look at, when I went to look for the outages on the website, it showed that certain areas will have an outage, but if you go another day, a different time, there's another outage here or another outage there. Might be small ones, may only have 11 or 12 houses. Another one, the one I was in, had 300 and something, I think 360 residences or something like that were affected. And
a couple of days ago, there was actually one that hit the southern parts of Chippewa.
Yeah, so if you have these rotating, that kind of thing, that you don't have that kind of consistency when you're always looking at a power outage here or there, it tells you your grid's very old. So when they talk about putting $311 million into it, is that near enough?
Doesn't seem enough, but a 300. But again, this is
what does that buy you? What does $311 million buy you?
But it
sounds like a lot of money.
It's better to spend $300 million than zero.
Yes. So notice in the article, it doesn't tell you about how increased the capacity is, et cetera, et cetera. It's kind of like years ago when they were trying to sell the Big Becky thing, and it was 140 megawatts. So they started to, and things were going south. So they started advertising it in kilowatts instead of megawatts. So they would say 1.4 billion kilowatt hours. Like, so all of a sudden they made it look a lot bigger and a lot more important by just the way they phrased it. Nobody talks about major power production in anything but megawatts, but they needed to spin the story. So they started talking about billions of kilowatts instead of what normally you speak of in megawatts. So in this particular story, when they're saying $311 million, that's the announcement. Now, I have nothing to say that that's not a good, big investment, but it doesn't say how that compares to other investments of other kinds.
So what they're basically saying here on the scope of work for this, construction of a double circuit 230 kilovolt transmission line between Welland and Thorold. Right, expansion of transformer capacity at Crowland to handle future residential industrial demand, and integration with Hydro One's broader modernization strategy across Ontario.
Okay, well, it sounds good. It sounds really good.
How does kilovolt? How does kilovolt compare to kilowatt?
Well, kilovolt. The difference between watt and volt is, of course, is amp. If you want to get the amps, that is a current. That is how much is moved. Kilovolt doesn't mean a whole lot on its own without the amperage. So if you take watts, if you take volts times how is it? Volts times current equals watts. Volts times current equals watts.
Yeah.
So that, and you've got that, of course, you've got that triangle, E over IR kind of thing. That too has to fall into this. But the transmission, kilovolt transmissions, that's pretty good. But you could have 10 trillion volts, and if you don't have much of an amp, you could touch it and not have much of a difference happen to you.
Yeah. And that,
on the other hand, if you have 100 volts with amps, like with like 10 amps, that's 1,000. The wattage is what the thing that kills you, right? Because it's current.
But the thing is, on the power lines, they're always high kilovolt transmissions anyway, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because
it depends on the current.
They come down through a step down transformer. That I do know. I don't know too much of the detail of it.
Yeah. So when your outlet is 120 volts, right? VAC volts, alternating current, but that doesn't tell you the alternating current. But the current value is essential too. So, for instance, we have enough current available. So if you need a vacuum that requires like wattage of X amount of watts, you have the volts, then you have the current. Volts are potential. Current is actually what happens. Volts times amps give you the wattage. That's the unit of work.
Yeah. But that's not. There's no explanation in here about what how much of that there is, how many watts there are, right?
No, because that would depend on the other end. So you have the potential of 240 or 250,000 volts. So when that's the voltage potential, when you demand it on the other end, then that's the current that comes in. But rather than getting into big technical talk here, is my question was, it sounds really good, and I expect that it is really good investment, but how do we know? This is something that they put out there as a press release, and that's of course meant to impress us and show us that they're doing something about an aging grid. Is it enough though, or is it just enough to keep things going?
Yeah, good question. Don't know the answer. They haven't provided that answer. All right.
In a continent with an aging power grid, is it going to be enough?
Yeah, and I still think there's a lot of people around here that I've spoken to that still feel a return of that outage that happened in 2003 might still happen again.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
There's weaknesses all over the grid.
Yeah,
especially now when and we haven't really felt it quite yet, but we will when AI data centers start popping up in Canada. It's going to have a huge effect in the United States. The strain on the power already is there. People with noticing already their utility bills going up. And we will find the same thing because there's going to have to be, if you want to stay relevant nowadays, you're going to have AI data centers. To have AI data centers means you're going to have to consume a lot of power.
Well, actually, that was interesting when you were talking about that. I was talking with last week. I was talking with a supplier, and a software supplier, and one of the things I said to them was, one of the challenges that we face right now is that we feel that we must have a Canadian supplier, and they actually said, well. But they surprised me because they said, no, we're Canadian owned. We're just well recognized in the United States. We're Canadian owned, but we are trying to actually build our data structure and infrastructure here in Canada to make that more obvious.
Oh, okay.
Right. So that was an interesting conversation that I had because I had to, I now have to look at said company in a completely different light. The downside is that they charge their usage fees in American dollars.
Oh.
Right. Which, I get it. If I was a software supplier, I'd be charging in American dollars as well.
I suppose so. Yeah. Well, Canadian dollars go up, down, all over the place. Yeah. You want to stay on something that's a little bit more.
Well, especially if you've got a large market in the US, right?
Of course. Yeah.
But again, now we're in a situation whereby you have to play to the Canadian market on separate rules than you play to the US market.
On separate rules?
Yes, separate rules, different. Basically you've got to how you treat the Canadian market is different than how you treat the American market, and they've got to be.
How is that?
Well, it's no longer. It may no longer be acceptable. For example, if it's $100 US per month per user per month for the sign-in fee, that may be too expensive. That's 150. That's getting on for $150 a month per user for a Canadian user, and for example, that might well be seen as way too expensive for a Canadian company.
Well, obviously, the American company is going to say, if you're giving it cheaper to the Canadians, you got to give it cheaper to us.
Yeah, that's true as well. All right. Yep. Absolutely. All right. But how would American companies know how it's being marketed in Canada?
Well, they'll find out.
Yep.
They'll find out because their competition is going to knock on the door and say, do you know that they're giving it to the Canadians cheaper than they're giving it to you? But we're fair. We charge the same both sides of the border.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Moving on. 4500 Park Street, back on the agenda to offer affordable units.
Yeah, that's the big. Go ahead.
I noticed that they've also said this is a development by Elite Developments and the City of Niagara Falls, and they're looking to have 39 affordable units and 39 attainable units. What's the difference?
Affordable. As far as I know, the attainable units is based on your income. So they charge you 30% of your income. So if your yearly income is $30,000, they'll charge you $10,000 for a year's full of rent.
Okay, but if it's $60,000, they'll be charging you 20.
Yeah, if they're trying to target the people with very low income, and those obviously those are attainable. Affordable, those are the ones that are based on the average income of the area.
This basically
that's what I think. It's like it's based on the average income of the area. So in Niagara, the average income, well, a good salary, a good mean level salary in Niagara is $60,000. So they would base it probably on that.
Yeah. The other thing about this, though, that I have one question that I have to put my hand high in the sky about is what have they done about the underlying contamination problem?
They've said they've cleaned it up. They said they spent X amount of $1,000 cleaning it up. I don't think you're going to be able to satisfy a guy like Mike Cushman or Gary Wilkins on that one.
No, and that's my biggest challenge. That's my biggest challenge.
Where are the reports? Where are the reports from the ministry? Where are the sign-offs on that? They're pretty horny to get this thing up. I remember that. And then when they start digging, tar starts billowing out of the ground like you're digging into an oil field. You almost, if anyone else, if they saw that, they would have put up an oil rig looking for where the mother lode was down there.
Yeah.
It's all just leftover tar or whatever, what the railroads had dumped there or what. All right.
One could argue that maybe Mike is being too defensive of the ecology, and that that the cleanup has happened, and that that everything's perfectly okay now. I think you'll still find that Mike will be out there with his megaphone saying it's not.
It might not be.
And he's more than, when it comes down to things like that, he's more than reasonable about that.
Well, the other thing they're doing there is they've put up fencing. They put up fencing along Chrysler, but they put up fencing and anchored it into the curb, and it covers the sidewalk so that nobody can use the sidewalk on that side of the road.
Yeah.
Which is odd thing they did. I can understand why they were anchoring the fencing into the curb, because you've got a thick piece of concrete there, so you can put your anchor bolts in there. But if you don't put them in right and a big wind comes along and knocks them out, you're going to gouge out, you're going to pull out a big hunk of concrete, because as far as I know, the curves are really haven't got that much reinforcement in them. And so they're so I don't know what that was all about. It seems to be like, okay, we're going to use up this. You can't walk past this. You got to.
Well, Mike said they did not clean it up.
Hmm?
Mike is saying they did not clean it up, and I would believe him. I haven't seen trucks up and down there removing dirt.
No, I haven't either.
We've seen the crater. We've seen the crater for how many years is it? 4 years now?
Yeah, I was kind of duff myself when I read this, because I said, when did that happen?
Yeah.
When did that cleanup happen?
No, and I think that cleanup would have been damn obvious to most of us, because there would have been trucks trucking dirt out of the area.
Here we got one. That was from Mike, and here's from Gary. As I said yesterday, bet anyone $1 if that job will not be either shut down or cost taxpayers more millions of dollars.
Yeah. And Mike is saying the Park Street area had a whole lot of contamination along the north wall, but that migrated there. They did not clean that up at all. Yeah, and I believe you. I've not seen any evidence that they've done any cleanup.
Yes. Yeah, I mean,
there was initial testing. There was initial testing, but as you know, Paul's favorite crater has been there ever since, right?
Well, yeah, we saw the films from Mike, and it was like Jed Clampett shooting at squirrels, and all of a sudden this ooze starts coming out of the ground.
Yeah.
Well, they start digging there, and this black tarry ooze starts coming out. Have they been able to identify it? What is it? Razzmatazz on, but There's been no evidence of a cleanup. And where did that happen? And where's the receipts for that?
Yeah, that exactly my thoughts. And had they, when they identified, had they identified that before, and we'd seen trucks going in and out of there over, in a steady succession over the years, I'd believe that there'd been a cleanup. But we've not seen any of that.
No. I think when they start digging, it's going to be Jed Clampett all
and
over again.
Betty says contaminated soil takes years to clean. What was there before was a market building. So there was a car park and a market building. But before that, there was a rail yard many moons ago, back in I think the 50s, 60s, and 70s. There was a rail yard there.
Yeah, we don't know what that tar and pitch was used for, why it was deposited there.
According to what Gary was saying, much of that was actually pulled. They were taking cars from Cyanamid, washing them out down there.
Really? I don't even remember that.
But he said
I don't remember that happening at all.
Yeah, he said that once to us. They used to run them up and down the lines as they cleaned the cars out.
Yeah, but in that location specifically, though, we can understand there's a rail yard.
Yeah, between that location and Cyanamid.
There could have been. We don't know what kind of industry was back there because back in the day, before automobiles and stuff like that, it would locate a lot of industries very, very close to the community. And the community then was the stores and stuff that would have been on Queen Street, and you see how they shaped the buildings on Queen Street to sort of contour along. That's why you have the misshapen buildings in and around the downtown area to contour to the rail line, because that's how valuable that real estate was back in those days. And we don't know what the rail yard might have been doing there on Park Street. We don't know if there was a little bit of industry there, blacksmithing, whatever happening in the back there, but that hasn't been revealed to us. And they just say it's okay to go ahead.
And it's possible nobody really knows, right? The extent to which, what was going on back in the past. It's possible nobody really knows.
All you got to do is talk to some old timers that been around. They can tell you what their grandfathers told them. Yeah,
exactly, and that's actually one of the areas of concern there. But I'm still very cautious about them going ahead with this. And it's like, well, we're using it for basic living, affordable units, etc. And I detect a hint of saying, well, what does it matter if they're a little bit poisoned? I think it matters greatly, but personally.
Yeah, I don't know. You're never quite comfortable with, okay, everything's okay now. Let's build this building. There's money to be made. Never too comfortable with that. Well, it's particularly when it hasn't really been identified. Where in this article does it say, well, this was what was there? There was a cleanup. We did the cleanup. What did they clean up? What elements did they clean up?
Yeah. And
what did they find in there that needed to be cleaned up? I don't see any article anywhere. I mean, even if going back a ways, I've never seen an article where they actually identified the contaminants. What is that tarry sludge that comes out of the ground? I mean, there's probably people mummified in that tar down there somewhere.
Yeah, right. Basically, okay. So, Gary is saying, remember a few months ago I showed you that huge chunk of slag.
Yeah.
Right. That was from there, I'm guessing.
Well, the slag would, the slag. Well, I don't know if the slag is.
He sent us stuff about 4,500, and I know I have. I've read it, Mike. I don't remember all of it right this second, but I've certainly read it. I'm concerned enough to say that I haven't seen an adequate cleanup. I've not seen a trail of trucks coming in and out of there. I've not seen any replacement anything, right? And we've had Paul Lemire comment on the crater across from the show for his show for ever since he's been back on air.
Yeah, and of course I was there on Monday with him, and of course we were joking about they had this huge excavator shovel come in, and it just did a bunch of political work there. Get something set up so the politicians could get a photo op with shovels throwing dirt, that kind of thing. I don't know how much that cost the taxpayer. Jeez.
Yeah,
I mean, we really need that. They're talking about saving money, and they get a big excavator down there to make a nice little place for the politicians to stand there with shovels throwing dirt. I wonder how much that cost the taxpayer, that photo op.
Yeah, and he's saying 20 steps away from the property is a huge amount of slag right in the alley, showing they did not do a good cleanup job.
So what is the slag component made out of?
Yeah, no, fair. It's a fair question, and I'm for one not very satisfied that that is, that's taken our everything into consideration. Anyway, right?
Yeah.
Are you searching something up?
So this is recent news reported 2024 environmental concerns at the sites of Niagara Falls, Park Street, environmental issues. This is what AI has come up with. Environmental issues of the region relate to contaminated soil at an industrial site. Oh, that's Thurlstone Road. That's a different one. Environment. That's the one that the lads were talking about.
That's around where they were talking about where they were dumping the stuff.
Oily substance lubricant Welland River storm. Yeah. That's also what Mike has found out.
Yeah.
So it is all listed here, but the actual Park Street.
I think the city, since this was found, the city's been de-emphasizing the sludge, trying to kind of ignore it in the hope that we could get another building like this built.
Yeah. So it has a bunch of stuff, but it doesn't mention. It also mentions the ongoing chemical stuff that comes out of the Love Canal and areas like that. Yeah. But we have to remember that Love Canal was pretty bad. It was on the American side. We were doing the same thing on our side.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly where it was, but
yeah.
Anyway, it's this project is going to go ahead.
Yeah.
And all I can say is I hope that it's going to be safe enough for the residents to live there. That's all I can say.
Yeah. I fear it is not. Right.
Yeah.
It's again, all I can say is I fear it's not. Right. Okay. Moving on.
Who's giving them the go ahead? I like to know that. Where, like, has the ministry given them the go ahead? Whoever's giving them the go ahead. Obviously, no developer is going to stick a shovel in there if he thinks the ministry is going to come along and say, "Okay, this isn't good enough. We're going to have to stop this because we can't let people live here."
Yeah. Fair. Well, that's something that elite developments have to consider when they're in the build.
They may have already considered it and how many billfolds they handed the ministry. Here you go. Look the other way kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't know.
Plus, the Ontario government is trying to get things done quickly too. The build fast, better kind of idea that get it done. So when you do that kind of thing, you are, you're kind of pressured to look the other way, or, oh, wait a minute, these are not. We still have some questions about Park Street. Never mind.
The contamination here, you see, is not as bad as you think it is, right? Believe me, follow the hands. The contamination is not as bad as you think it is. Yeah.
Well, if somebody from Elite Contracting or City Council go there to live, then I'd be a little bit more happy about it. But when I don't know, is it a place to dump poor people? Well, I don't know.
Yeah, and this is what bothers me. It's like that is an attitude like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Let the meat talk.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Fonthill school principal is basically saying that driver behavior is unchanged despite the removal of these cameras. And a lot of this has been debate about this. Basically, these cameras for the region generated $3 million worth of fines in 2024. And in order to alleviate some of the reduction in monies, the province is actually getting interim funding reports for traffic calming measures that will assist in reducing speeds in areas where the cameras were being used.
Well, it really was a tax grab or was a cash grab. Now, what they don't seem to think here, like they were making a lot of money off this, obviously, and then they turned that money back into different projects in and around the region. So it was a cash grab. So Ford was right about that. What I have a problem with is it was meant to be a cash grab and a calming all at the same time. But if you really want to slow things down in and around a school, put a camera there permanently. It's not going to make you a whole lot of money, but it sure is going to calm things down. You want to make sure your schools are safe, put a camera in there that everybody knows about and stays there. And then you're not going to make a whole lot of money. You're not going to make a whole lot of fines because most people will be aware of it, but it is a deterrent to speeding.
Most local people will be aware of it, right? For example, we're talking Fonthill here. If you were a resident of Fonthill and you know about it, but if you're a resident of Niagara Falls and you just happen to be traveling through Fonthill, that's when you might get dinged.
Yeah, well, in Niagara Falls, we can have signs, out of towners, please go this way, and we can ding them all along. Make a lot of money on that.
Yeah. But again,
the fact that that's what hasn't come up really is the fact that it is supposed to calm the traffic down around vulnerable places. Well, they were using it, rotating it around and making money from it at the same time as they're calming the vulnerable sections of our community, the schools and parks, etc. My idea is if you want a permanent, you could put a camera up there that's not going to make you a whole lot of money, but it's going to be a permanent deterrent to anyone speeding around a school zone or a park or an old age home.
Yeah.
That's just it, and other things like calming measures, like big signs and flashing signs and all that, you know damn well that there's going to be a few people out there that knows they're not going to be dinged with any kind of ticket if they speed through there. But if they have a camera there, they're going to slow it down. So my issue here is, look, you found out that cameras work. It brings people down, slows them down. We'll keep them there permanently. That's all. You're not going to make money off it, but you sure are going to slow the traffic down in those vulnerable areas.
I think I was part of the problem that I had is that I didn't like the fact that they were roving around. I'm persuaded by what you're saying about keeping them there permanently brings a certain amount of money in, but it's not going to be what it's not the $3 million for 2024. If it was $1 million for 2024, you'd be saying, okay, it's kept the effect of keeping the speed down, but not money.
Yes. So it's obviously that the region loves the money that's being made on this, and it's been able to utilize it in other things. So it's okay. So it's gone into the coffers and used it, but it is a cash grab.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, what's being lost here is the fact that we want the traffic to slow down around school zones and anywhere where there's kids
And
or old people, particularly kids, parks and schools. So you put up a camera permanently. It's not going to make you a whole lot of money, but it's going to be the ultimate deterrent.
But basically, a Fonthill school principal is saying that that despite the removal, they're finding that behaviour is unchanged, i.e., people are speeding through school zones.
I think it's the dumbest thing in the world to say. It's people are behaving themselves for now because they still have the memory of the cameras being in there. But as soon as people realize the cameras are gone and not going to come back, they're going to go back to their old behaviors.
Yeah. And part of the challenge of school zones is that many of those actual restrictions are permanent. They're not, you're slowing down from 50 to 40 in the school zone, and it's permanent. It's not only when the school is open. So it's in the summer vacation. It's at 8 p.m. at night. So it's not just a 40 zone between 7 and 9 and 4 to 6, or 2 to 4 or something like that. It's a permanent speed change.
Anytime you have a school, even in the summertime, you play baseball there, you play soccer there, you go there with your friends and goof around when you're a kid. So even during summertime, kids will go to the schoolyard because there's things you can do there.
There's amenities,
baseball or whatever,
Yeah. Well, you got a good field to go play football. Go play football or baseball or whatever, even if it's just a knockaround game, right?
Sure, I used to do that all the time. We had big parts in the school. The school always had diamonds, like baseball diamonds. So we want to play baseball, we go to the school and play baseball there.
And because it's your school, it's a few hundred meters away. You know exactly where it is, and you know the facilities are available. Whereas going to a park that's across town, you're never quite sure whether it's available at that time that you're going.
I grew up in Scarborough. We had excellent parks and schoolyards, and that's where we played most of the time.
Yeah.
And the big one of the parks we had was Lusted Park, because there was a orchard farmer there at one time named Lusted, and some of the old crabapple trees were still up many years going on. That whole big field, huge field with pine trees and crabapples was and in other big areas playing. That was a huge park for us to play in.
Yeah.
Huge.
Anyway,
there was hundreds of kids in there sometimes.
Right. We got a whole heap of comments. Right. Okay. I bet for Dave, the photo opportunity. Okay, I don't know. Beautiful sunrise. Okay, that was what that was related to. Beautiful sunrise. I bet a lot, Dave, for the photo opportunity. And he's talking about city. Not so sure what that comment relates to. Rick, you're correct, right, about the cash grab. Okay, and where they place cameras.
I forgot. I was supposed to get it, but I forgot.
Yeah. Where they place the cameras, the speed limit is 40. Not in all cases, but in the school zones, that's true. Yeah. In safety zones and school zones. Yeah. As Rick says. Right. And moving on, I don't recall someone being hurting in school zones. Okay. All right. St. Catherine's at school patrol got run over. He passed by. He was passed by a dump truck. Oh, that is sad. That is sad.
I didn't catch that. What was that?
He said in St. Catherine's, a school patrol person got run over. Right.
Watch out, Mike.
Yeah.
Watch out, Mike.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Moving on. What we got next?
Well, I know it's distracted driving. It's distracted driving. The people are wandering all over the place. I keep running into that day after day after day. People going like 20 kilometers and then going up to 50 and then drifting this way. They're looking at their damn video on their dash of the car.
Yeah.
And it like I said before, in the last year or year and a half, I've used my horn more than I have in my entire life up to that point. Beeping at cars, get them to move, get, like they're at a,
move out the way,
get going. And then when they do start going, they're kind of reluctant and then they kind of wander this way and wander that way. Oh my God, how many of those I have bumped into?
Put your freaking phone down. Put your phone down and get on with the driving.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah.
And but that screen they got on the dash is probably part of the biggest problem too. It's because you can bring up videos on that damn thing. And so you can be watching videos as you're wandering around, or I don't know what the heck's going on, but pull over, finish your phone call or whatever you're doing if you need to have the video part of it, and then get back on the road. But, oh, God, I see all kinds of distracted drivers out there. And I think that's going to be a real problem going forward, is distracted drivers more than the selfish, speedy drivers that we used to think about years ago. Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Okay. So there was a thing you sent out yesterday that said snow flurries were expected last night, possibly this morning. Well, in fact, actually, the latest news is that snow flurries are expected tonight, possibly tomorrow morning.
Yeah, so they say.
Wednesday, early Thursday.
It's rather dark out there.
Well, it is.
That is a foreboding thing.
So there's no evidence of snow out there, Dave.
Not yet, right? But I'm telling you, it's only a matter of time. But anyway, look, when the snow gets on the ground, it's better for us in the wintertime anyway, because it's so dark during the winter. If you notice that around November, December, it's so drab and dark. But as soon as you get a blanket of snow on the ground, it brightens everything up. It makes things a little bit more brighter and less dull.
We're getting to the darkest part of the year for right now. We've got less than 4 weeks away from the darkest day of the year.
The solstice, the winter solstice.
Yeah, exactly.
And so from now until the end of January is going to be our darkest time. Now, when February comes along, that's when we start to, for me at least, I start to notice things are getting lighter. And you get your best winter days in February around here. February and early March is because you still have snow and it's cold and everything, but it's much brighter. You get more sun, and it just feels like you're heading in the right direction. But right now we're heading in the wrong direction.
Yep. Okay. All right. Moving on. Ontario is tabling what they're calling Andrew's Law in an effort to tackle dangerous driving. And the situation has been that a man was charged with dangerous driving, causing death in a crash. But this 18-year-old was already facing another dangerous driving charge from an incident earlier that involved Doug Ford. So a dangerous drive, so this guy is a persistent, dangerous driver. Right?
Yeah.
And they're looking to add a new law in there, which will enable them to put this down as put them down and give them a lifetime ban on driving. I think it needs to be more stiffer than that. I think Doug Ford needs to be looking and talking with the federal government. Let's make this a crime. Let's make this criminal charge. Causing death by dangerous driving on multiple occasions. Not only should your license be taken away, I think you should lose your freedom for quite some time.
You should go to jail.
Yeah, absolutely. You should.
If you take somebody's life because of dangerous driving, you have put other people's lives in danger by your actions, and you know that you are. You
Yeah.
absolutely know you are.
And
You
this
could
has
be
to be done.
anywhere from 14 to 140. You're putting somebody's life in danger if you drive that way. There is no excuse for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And taking, with even rural roads today, even rural roads that you could hammer down 10, 20 years ago, those roads, you cannot do that anymore, right? It was because you could cause death by hammering down 100 kilometers, 150 kilometers an hour or more,
Well, if you're going to speed and you know the rural route and
Yeah.
there's nobody going to be on it, okay, but those are becoming more and more rare in and around the
I know.
hinterland of
Absolutely.
Niagara. It
Yeah.
used to be you just go outside in the country and put it down the road and have your races and stuff like that because no one's else on the road. And every once in a while you lose control, and that would be that. And so you kill yourself. But in this particular case, no, there is a dangerous driving out there. There seems to be this thing about guys racing. I don't know if you are. When you go on the QEW or anything or some of the highways, you find a couple of small cars racing.
I see them.
Dodging in and out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see them. I see them. It annoys the heck out of me when I see them. And somebody coming up behind you and at great speed when you've got nowhere to move. You're on a 2-lane highway, and then they start flashing at you as if you can move.
Yeah, there's nowhere to go, buddy. What am I going to do? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and you're on a 2-lane highway, and to your right is a bundle of trucks that are going way slower than I am. I'm not diving in there, mate. Right?
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just
to slow you down.
Yeah. So yeah, generally I see somebody coming up, I'll find a way to get into another lane. But
if it's safe, if it's safe.
Yeah, it's safe to do so. But
yeah,
the very idea that there's a lot of dangerous driving going on out there. There's a lot of people who think they're doing that movie thing. I don't know, whatever that movie was, Speed or whatever it was, where they race around the city and all that, and it's all very, very glamorous and all that. But the fact of the matter is, it's dangerous, and you're going to kill somebody that is not involved. And not only that, even if you do get in an accident, right, and you don't kill yourself, well, now you need the fire department, and you need tow trucks, and you need the police department. That just costs the taxpayer a lot of money, didn't it?
Yeah.
So I think people who have done dangerous driving should be on the hook for paying whatever damage they have done, for material damage they've done, and the services they've demanded from the municipality. They pay for that. Plus, they go into jail if they killed or hurt anybody. They go to jail. Just go to jail. And then when they get out, they're not allowed to drive again, depending on the level of damage and they've done while driving dangerously. If they kill somebody, well, I don't know if they should ever get their license back again. But at least they go to jail. They go to jail for a minimum amount of time, 3 years maybe, and then they go. And then when they get out, they don't get their license for another 10 years. Because if you're young, you're stupid, you might be able to learn that lesson. You still there, Peter? Yeah.